tech, feminism, or low gas prices?
I guess low gas prices, because ever since the feminist movement, it's been a lot harder for me to find a guy to pay my bills. And all of a sudden I have to work and I have to do all these things. And I honestly don't want to work. I would rather stay in the kitchen. Mind you, I need some cooking classes, but I think I could take a couple cooking classes and make somebody really happy.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Before we jump into the main story here, let me quickly thank everybody that is a supporter here on YouTube, everybody that is over on Rumble, especially you guys because you're getting away from YouTube, and everybody that's supporting me over on Locals. I don't often thank many of you that are supporting me, so I don't need YouTube quite as much in my repertoire, so I appreciate that very much. All right, jumping into the main story here. This is going to be, my rant at the end of this is going to be probably a little controversial, so some of you may disagree with me on that one. That's fine, but I think it's kind of important to go over. So a famous lingerie boxer insults men, but they get even. Now, I'll get into the how they get even part, and it's why I'm going to probably title this YouTube video or this Rumble or Locals video is why men are completely winning in all things. They just don't know it, because that's the truth of it, and I'm going to explain why. So this is from The Sun. This Ebane Bridges, she's a boxer. As you can see, she's got some saucy photos up, and she's also a boxer. She's got a 7-1 record, and here's a picture of her actually boxing. So she's willing to take the hits. You know, she's just not some fly-by-night. I think she's 7-1 and 8-1. But whenever she goes in to do the weigh-in, instead of wearing like a tank top and gym shorts, she actually wears kind of saucy clothing. And she was getting some pushback about men, or basically about what she's wearing. And the main story here that I had the wrong story up. She says the haters are winning. Aussie boxing bombshell reveals too much for Instagram. So she put up a photo of her doing her pose, her weigh-in for the boxing event. And she got pushback on Instagram, and they removed one of her photos. And it was her in wearing nothing but underwear and a pair of boxing gloves. But a lot of women wear, lingerie or other things like that. That's not a big deal. But what happened? Women complained. Women complained because A, she looked a lot better she looked a lot better than they do. And B, it's shaming, it's trolls, it's this, it's that. And she said, okay, I'll remove it off of Instagram. And what did she do? She opened an OnlyFools account. And she's still boxing despite raking in generational wealth on her OnlyFools. And she explains why she's still doing it. She says, hey, I'm making millions as a boxer. Why wouldn't I just continue to make even more on OnlyFools? They say the blonde bomber, 36, successfully defended her belt with an 8th round TKO, so she's 8-1 now, I guess. However, the Aussie suffered a hard hand injury. Okay, no problem. She said, fortunately for the star, she has no worries financially due to the success of her subscription OnlyFools account. But despite that, Bridges is adamant she has no plans to quit the ring yet, as she revealed what keeps her fighting. She says to Talk Sport, you wouldn't even believe it if I said it. It's only been 10 weeks, and I won't disclose how much money I've earned, but from the second day of launching my OnlyFools account, I've been in the top 0.01% of earners. I don't even know why I'm boxing, probably because I love hitting people. So again, I mean, here you've got a 36-year-old woman. Yes, she looks, plastic and Barbie and the rest of it. We can hate on it all we want. But the truth is a lot of guys still find this attractive to look to, and they decide, hey, I'm going to sign up for her OnlyFools account. So here's the story that I wanted to read from, and then I'll get into my little bit of a rant. And if you guys here on YouTube and Rumble see a bunch of chops, that means I started saying stuff too controversial for YouTube, and so I cut it out. But the full-length video will be over on betterbachelor.locals.com. So risque boxer Ebane Bridges raking in loser money from OnlyFools freaks who want to buy her bathwater. She says, I'm a boxer, but I box twice a year. 2 paychecks a year is nothing. I'm not getting millions like the men off boxing, so I'd be dumb not to maximize what I can earn elsewhere. I agree with her on that. I have no hate on her. She says she was paid more than $250,000 to join OnlyFools. So she got $250 just to sign up, $250,000. The women's IBF bantamweight title holder insists she has courted to help lead other famous athletes to the subscription base. Let me make this a little larger so you can see it. She was courted to help lead other famous athletes to the subscription-based platform and continues to use her page to interact with her fans, not to sell the saucy photos, though. Now, of course, you know she's putting up saucy photos. I was the first female boxer on Only Fools, but now you've got Michaela Mayer, Sinisia Estrada, guys like, they list a bunch of other influencers. She said, it's not the saucy movies, it's moving away from that stuff. Only Fools knows that I'm a bit of a pioneer and that if I did that, others would do it. And that's what happened. There's a stigma around it, but it's not saucy movies. I put everyday stuff on there that I would post on social media anyway, but now I'm getting paid for it. Now, what's interesting is that I believe in one of these articles, and I'm not sure which one, let me pause this and see if I can find it. All right, despite looking, it looks like the only photo I could come up with was her topless, but she was wearing a scarf, I guess, that just covered her Hershey Kisses. But anyway, my whole point is that she's putting saucy photos out there. Now, this is where I'm going to get into my my rant a little bit. Oh, one more thing before this is a photo. This is from me on Twitter. If you don't follow me over there, it's at Bachelor Joker. This is a picture of Aubrey O'Day, and I said she didn't hit the wall. The whole effing building fell on her. This is her back, and you can see right here it says 2013 Music Awards, right? So this is her in 2013. Here we are 10 years later.
I don't like the looks of this vagina.
She's got the multicolored hair, like where it's blonde and black. She's got her dog all rainbowed out. In 10 years. Now, I'm a far cry from what I was at 40, but I didn't fall this far. I don't think many of you do. It's all about taking care of yourself, right? Okay, so here's my rant on this. And this is why I truly believe men are winning in all things. And there's going to be a bunch of stuff here I cover. If you want a traditional relationship where a woman loves you unconditionally and will stay by your side through thick and thin until the day you die, that's gone. And in many cases, that's been gone for probably 10, 20, 30 years, unless you find a unicorn. Most of the time, women are going to bail. And that's been true since the 90s, the 80s, so just give up on that stuff. That's like Fantasyland Disney pre-LDHD TV community. That's Disneyland pre-modern times, 1950s stuff. So that's done. So take that out of the picture, right? If you want kids, or you do want a traditional marriage, that is still available to men. Now, it does mean that you may have to relocate countries, maybe head to Southeast Asia. Maybe it means that you don't live in a modern big city, although Cebu and Manila, maybe Bangkok, some of these other cities, I think you'd do okay with still. You might have to move out to the rural areas. But you can find a woman that will love you unconditionally and give you children. It's just not going to be in the West. And you're probably going to have to stay overseas because if you bring them back, there's going to be problems. So that's still an option. But take that off the table. Let's say you don't have kids and you're not married, which is, I would say, the vast majority of you. You now have all the time in the world you want to go drink a beer with the boys, to buy that motorcycle and go riding with your friends, to go out and join a league for bowling or pool or darts or anything like that. You can play for hours mindlessly playing video games or watch sports as much as you'd like. You can hit the gym at any hour. You can cook and eat whatever you want for dinner every night. You have complete freedom. And a lot of this is going to be mindset. You can wallow and be upset and be pissed at all the things you're losing out on life. Or you can say, okay, this is just the new world. I'm going to need to adjust. And you make that adjustment. Once you make that mindset adjustment, you will find that everything is actually really good. It took me several years after my very bad red pill experience where I got kind of ground into the dirt. Many of you know that story. I won't reiterate it here or now. But once you actually grasp it, it's full of wins. If you have the ability, and everybody has the ability, you can leave whatever state you're in. You can many times leave even your country, especially if you're in Europe or other areas like that. There are work abroad programs. There are opportunities to relocate and move to anywhere in the world, really, given a few exceptions. You know, I could head down to Argentina or Peru. A lot of those countries would love to have you there. You know, so it's never been easier. You know, $1,000 plane ticket. You can relocate. You can get an Airbnb in some of these countries for $20 or $30 a week, and just restart your life. And if you try it there a month or two and you don't dig it, you just move to a different country or try something else. Women now are more than happy to show their bodies for $5 a month. They're more than happy to, in many cases, join a seeking site or something like that, where for a couple of $100, you can go out on a date, get your action and needs met, and you can do that, 1 or 2 times a month, and it's still cheaper than being married or having a girlfriend that you need to take out to the movies and dinner and entertain and everything else. The only thing you're missing is somebody that loves you. But again, I think if you make a bunch of guy friends that really care about you, they will love you more than any woman would. It's just in a different way. We've got the LDHD TV community going through and burning everything to the ground, but let's face it. They're the ones that want to delete the babies. They're the ones that want to sterilize themselves by swapping boy to girl, girl to boy. So, I mean, Darwinism at its finest, they're taking themselves right out of the gene pool. And then you've got a lot of women that like strong masculine men that are finding more and more men are joining in with all the craziness. So there's fewer conservative men, or maybe more truly liberal-minded men that are just more masculine, more open-minded. They're going to be doing better at some point. Financially, things are going to get really tough for the time being. That much is true. But again, men, if you really are willing to throw your sails into the wind, I think you can come out of this okay. I'll tell you, when I was a young man getting out of the military, I got married. I was 21 years old. Thought I had met the dream girl. I didn't know anything about women or relationships or anything else. That lasted 6 months, and it didn't end well. She left me for some rich older guy. It didn't end well. But you know something? I slept in my car for a little while. I stayed up. I was actually at the time living down in Florida. We were living in Florida. And she drove back to New York, which is where she's from and where I met her when I was up in the military in New York. And I got in my car and I drove 23 or 24 hours straight because I was so upset because she said she wasn't coming home and she was staying up there and she met this other guy her parents introduced her to because they didn't like me. I was so upset. I quit my job. I got my last paycheck, which is like $500 in cash, which was for a month's work, I think. It wasn't very much. I jumped in my little beat-up Honda Civic, and I drove all the way up to New York, 24 hours straight. When I got out of the car, I felt like I was walking off the deck of a ship because I had sat so long and paid attention to the road so long. I kind of felt woozy. And I went straight to her workplace because she wasn't answering the phone anymore, and she was working there again. And she came out, and I talked to her, and I realized it wasn't going to work, and that was the end of that. I slept in my car for a little while, and this is back in the day before cell phones and internet and email and texting and all this other stuff. And during the day, I went out and I looked for jobs because I was determined to stay up there to see if I could make it work. Stupid move, but 21-year-old me thought that was the right thing to do. And I was determined to make it work. And this is in upstate New York, nowhere near the city. So I stayed up there. And I slept in my car, and then I'd get cleaned up sometimes in bathrooms. Back then you could go to the YMCA, and it was very minimal membership. I think it was like $20 or $30, something like that. So I joined a YMCA so I could take showers and get cleaned up. Slept in my car, would go to a laundromat, pay $4 or $5, and I was not eating much. Let me tell you, like mac and cheese, 99 cents for one meal a day, kind of thing. And I had to go house to house where I remembered all my old friends from the military, because that's where I was stationed, where they lived, and kind of had to wait around until they got home from work. And I'd be like, hey, man, let me tell you what's going on. And I explained my story, and some of them at the time couldn't really help me out. But there was one guy, his name was Ed, and we've stayed friends for many years. He said, yeah, man, the problem is, though, I've only got a 2-bedroom apartment, and I'm renting out the other room to another guy. I'm like, can I just pull up a corner of your couch? Can I use your shower? I'll pay you $100, that I have now or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And once I start working, I'll flip you, a little bit of money just so I can use your facilities and chill out at your house with you guys. And he's like, nah, don't worry about that. Just crash on my couch for now. He's going to be moving out in a couple months. And by the time the other guy moved out, I had found a job and I was staying with him. Now, many of you might say, yeah, but I don't know anybody in whatever. Okay, that's fine. But you can sleep in your car. You can probably find a gym or a YMCA with a shower for $50 a month. And you can get a lower paying job just so you have something to get you started. And your bills will be nothing. It'll be very low if you're sleeping in your car. It's not luxury by any means. But now coffee shops have Wi-Fi. You can get online, cell phones. It's so much easier than it used to be back in the day. What's my point in telling this story? If you want to move, you can move. If you just want to leave an area, you can get out. You can relocate. You can find a new job. You can start over. And you know what it takes? Brass balls. It can be really scary doing something like this. It takes you way outside of your comfort zone for the first time. But the second time, it's easier. And the third time, it's even easier. And by the fifth or sixth time, if you just decide to keep moving and looking for the right place, it's easy street. Like you have your packing, your packing coordination down. You know where things go in your car that gives you the most room to sleep. Trust me, I know these things. And you start over. Men have the ability to do that now. But now it's even easier to start over in a new country. I'll tell you a good example. When I was going to the Philippines, I got on Tinder. I paid the extra $10 so I could swipe anywhere globally. I was swiping in Cebu a week before I got there. I chatted up maybe a couple dozen girls. One of them had her own place. I said I was looking for the girlfriend experience. I was going to be there for a month. I needed a place to stay and someone cool to hang out with. We talked. She made sure I wasn't a crazy person. I showed up and crashed at her place. I had a bed, a shower, and a very pretty woman to spend some time with. There's always options. And for men right now, it's easier than ever to have options. And the way men get revenge today is by living a good life. By being as happy as you possibly can. And there are so many different opportunities. But too many times, and I do this myself, on my channel, I talk about laws that shame men, or I talk about how bad marriage or divorce or all these other things. But you know something? We need to start looking at the fun side of life too. We need to start having some laughs at the craziness. And how are men better off than, say, for example, women like this? Because 10 years ago, there's probably not a man alive that wouldn't want to be with her. And 10 years later, there's very few men that would want to be with her in a blink of an eye. She might be rich. She might be famous. She might. It was at a music award, so maybe she's an amazing singer. Men don't care. That's how men win, is by staying in shape and by being healthy and by having a fun, outgoing personality. That will take you so far in life. I have one more story I'll share at the end of this. And how are men winning over this woman? Let me see. That calls the people that are giving her, I don't know, $5 a month, $10 a month, loser money from freaks that want to buy her bathwater. How are men winning in this case? If I told you back in, I don't know, if I told you back 10 years, 15, 20 years ago, hey man, for $5, you can see whatever hot sports figure or model or whatever, you can see her without clothes. $5. People would be like, yeah, that'd be awesome. It's like, great, go buy a Playboy magazine. And that's how you saw them. You'd buy a magazine. Is that any difference today than paying $5 a month for an Only Fools account? Not really. Now, I still think it's guys that are simping and they're not going to get out of the relationship, anything out of the interaction, thinking like they're going to have a girlfriend experience. But if a guy does it because he's just like, hey, I like it looking at this woman in a bunch of different poses because she's not wearing clothes and it costs me $5 a month, you know what, maybe I've changed my mind about that a little bit. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Because back in the day, if I said, hey, there's this movie actress, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, would you, she's not in any of these magazines, but would you pay $5 to see her, have a photo spread of 10 or 15 or 20 photos of her without clothing? There's a lot of guys, including myself back when I was in my 20s, to be like, yeah, why not? It's $5. I mean, that's less expensive now than a McDonald's Happy Meal or a Burger King burger. You know what I mean? So yeah, she might get rich because a bunch of guys are buying their stuff. But in the same token, these guys are like, I'm fine with that. I don't care about her life. I'm worried about my life. And my life says $5 to be able to check out, a boxer that's beautiful. Okay. And the truth is, that's how the men are winning, is that men's needs are so different from women's. Women have no comprehension of what makes men happy. I really don't believe they do. And I think a lot of guys actually don't know what makes them happy, which is why there's so many young men out there that are struggling today and having a hard time or being unhappy. There's lots of different ways that guys can be happy. The problem is, I think today, a lot of men don't have the stoicism and the bravado and the testicular fortitude to say, you know what, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and I'm going to take the bull by the horns and make this life mine. Over the years, they've been ground down. They're unhappy. They're bored. They're listless. They have no drive. They feel like the world's against them. And in many cases, the world is against you. But how is this any different than it's been throughout history? You go back to the 1800s. I mean, there was a peasant class and the rich. And then you look at the 1800s or 1900s in the West, you tick off the wrong guy in the bar and you catch a bullet. Or you're toiling in a farm field, hoping there's enough rain for you to feed your family. You're hoping you can maybe skin enough deer or, pan for enough gold to feed yourself. Things are so much easier today that we've forgotten what it's like to be men, to be strong, to be tough, to be pissed off, to just go get it. And men still have that today, if they can find it. And so they have the ability, if they're willing to take the risk, to find a woman, to go get married, takes another country, to go travel the world like I did. It cost me 10 grand to backpack around the world for 15, 16 months. I know that's a lot of money. I know that's a lot of money to especially you young men out there. But to be able to travel and see the world and date exotic foreign women for $10,000 for 15 months. I mean, if you pay $1,000 a month in rent, that's $15,000. I was living cheaper than Americans or Europeans, just plopping their butt in a chair and working a 9 to 5. You can find the access to women. It's going to cost you some money. You can go to the gym and get ripped because it's a good hobby and it keeps you healthy and you'll be more attractive to women. Now, maybe it doesn't mean you get a 10, but you know what? A lot of guys would be perfectly fine with a really cool, nice, sweet 5 that likes to hop in bed with them every once in a while. I still think most men can do that. I was at a car dealership the other day because I'm looking at getting a used, really old beat-up pickup truck. Those things are even $30,000, $35,000 right now. It was unbelievable. But the dealer, the guy that was selling me his car, he was kind of a little bit of an overweight ginger he came up to here on me, no lies. He must have been 5 foot tall. He had a wedding ring on. Now, we can say all the things we always say about marriage and everything else, sure. But the fact is he found a woman that would marry him. I don't know what she looked like, but at least that opportunity's out there. I didn't ask him to show me a photo of his wife. But my point is, that's still an option. So you go to the gym, you get healthy. You look for what's going to make you whole. Maybe that's guy friends, maybe that's hobbies, maybe that's travel, maybe that's working a second or third job to grab that cash to put it in the bank for that rainy day so you can go buy your land. There's so many options out there for men. And so that's why I think men are winning and will continue to win no matter how bad things get. It's just going to be your mindset. And that's how we get even. In my thumbnail here, let me flip my photo back over here. In my thumbnail here, I say men get even. We get even by living well. We get even by paying $5 to see her without clothing or whatever. That's a win. We pay $100 or $200 to go get our rocks off with a woman that's usually better looking than a woman you could date. That's a win. You get all the time in the world for guy friends and travel and everything else. Those are all wins. The only thing you might say is, what do I lose at? I'm going to have to put in some effort to make this happen. I'm going to have to take some risks. I'm going to gamble a little bit. That's the biggest risk you need to take. But the truth is, that's no different than any other man that's ever lived in the world ever. Get off your ass, take some risks, and gamble a little bit. Because even if you lose a few times, it's different than walking into a casino. This is a gamble that you're betting on yourself. And if you bet hard enough and you give yourself those opportunities, In very few examples have I ever heard of anybody actually losing. It's almost always a win. It's just, are you willing to get off your ass and make something happen for yourself, or are you just going to sit there and complain? And again, I'm guilty of the sitting and complaining myself. I'm 40 pounds overweight right now, which I don't want. I'm not like a huge, I don't have a huge belly, right? Got a little bit of a belly. I used to have a six-pack. I'm 40 pounds overweight of where I want to be. Maybe I'm not 40 pounds technically overweight, right? I'm bald. My beard's going gray a little bit. My vision's not so great anymore. I get sore in the morning if I don't exercise regularly. Things are going to happen. But you can overcome all of them. You just have to have the willpower to do so. And so I'm finding the willpower to do more. Going to the gym more, being more active, getting some things done, getting away from the computer, which is why for a week last week, you guys didn't see me putting out as many videos because I was like, I got to get away from this damn computer. It's my job, and I love doing what I do, and I love the interaction I get with you guys in the comments and everything else. But you got to go out and touch some grass, and you got to go out and make things happen for yourself. And so I hope to do that for myself more, and I'm hoping you guys do too. So if you find yourself in a rut, if you find yourself unhappy, if you find yourself being miserable, deal with it. Fix it. Change it. And then in the comments, undoubtedly, I'm going to see a lot of guys that go, yeah, but. Sure, there's always a but. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to overcome it? Are you going to fight it? Or are you going to give up? Because those are the only options for men. It's always been the only options. The difference is the fight today is a little different than it used to be. So find some wins. Have a good weekend. Today's Friday for me. Have a good weekend. Join us Saturday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on betterbachelor.locals.com, where we have a movie night. We're going to do Tango and Cash, and I haven't decided on the second movie. We have movies. We share memes. We show pictures of spicy girls. We have laughs. We have a good time. There's about 200, 250 of us in there. I'm hoping to make it to 1,000 or 2,000 sometime. I put on the subtitles where you guys can read to see what they're saying, because I'm blabbing and talking and reading super chats and goofing and laughing, and that's what it's all about. Find some meaning, guys. I'll leave it there. I hope you find something good this weekend. Get into some trouble. Get out there. Make yourselves active. Find some motivation. And we'll see you in the next one.